getting coverage for transplants and curative therapy for sickle cell was a big issue previously before the CMS passed their guidelines. It would be interesting to know whether this is still a major issue in getting these therapies covered, because virtually everybody who comes to Hopkins has full coverage for their transplant. And I'm assuming that's the same at most places now, but I don't know.
Rick, let me answer the question the following. In the BMT 1507 stratum, pediatric stratum, we are unaware of anyone saying that a child would not be eligible for curative therapy or an adult on the adult stratum. So, and then in our Vanderbilt consortium, so that's probably 30 US sites. And in the Vanderbilt consortium, there may have been some tug of wars with the insurance companies, but no one has mentioned, and editorial can chime in, to my knowledge, with the sites in the United States, no one has mentioned insurance being a challenge. We do work with our colleagues in Brazil. There are 4 sites, and they have explicitly identified some of the challenges with transplant supportive measures, like they can't get Thiatepa, and there are other drugs for CMV prophylaxis that they're unable to get. And so there may be some supportive care strategies, challenges that may relate to places in Brazil. In the UK, to be quick, Josu de la Fuentes has been approved by the National Health Service to perform curative therapy. He is, to our knowledge, I haven't talked to him about this in the last 18 months specifically, but prior to this, in the last 2 years, he said he is the only pediatric site in the UK that's certified to perform Haplo.
I think there's several now, Michael. They since 2020 that have been approved. But the reason I brought that up is to deal with the question that came up a few times about cost. I don't actually think, I mean, there are hidden costs in any sort of therapy, housing and things at the center that you need to take into account. But for the big costs of the transplant, I don't think coverage is an issue for most individuals now.
Yeah, that's been our experience.
No, I think for adults, Rick, it's been better after the CMS approval. But what has been happening is systematically a few private insurances are hiding behind the CMS guidelines. So when patients come in, they'll say, well, you have to be on a study. Guess what? The 1507 on the adult strata is closed. So you either have to develop your own internal protocol to do it.
So,
and you also have, because most of our patients, depending on which part of the country you live in the United States, are underinsured. So you can have TennCare, for example, and it has different strata. So there's some that will say, you know what, we don't recognize. I mean, there was a patient we just transplanted. This was Michael's patient who's had a stroke since age 5, but was never approved. And Cigna said, no, we don't transplant young kids, adults with stroke. And she was only 22. So you still have some of these nebulous criteria for knocking patients off. So it's, at some point, this needs to be addressed and probably better standardized.